live. And here is Toney. What is going on, brother? How you doing,
hey guys,
man?
How you doing?
Dude, it's been
Doing good.
the last time I saw you was Lion King.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Oh my gosh. We need to go ahead and like prefacize that. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about which Lion King. You know what I mean? Because there's the old Lion King, then there's that new Lion King, and
Yeah.
I don't know how everybody feels about the new Lion King.
It's all right. It's all right.
We got some peeps
Cool.
here who just watched you in the Corridor Crew video.
Oh, that's right. You've been in Corridor a couple times,
Oh.
right?
Yep, that just came out today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot. I have to look at that.
Yeah.
Hold on, for those of us that are just catching up, please expand upon the Corridor Crew.
Corridor Crew is another YouTube channel.
Okay.
They produce some really great content, and one of the video series that they do is Stuntmen Reacts, where they invite some working stunt people, and then they break down some good and bad stunts from movies and shows and stuff.
All right, I got a
Yeah.
question, man, out the gate.
Okay.
What are your wrists made out of, dude? How
These wrists? Oh, okay. You know what's really funny? When you were talking about doing the kip and how your wrists were hurting, bro. These wrists are busted. These are some busted ass wrists. Okay, can I cuss? I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's fine.
Like these pop constantly. I'm constantly popping them in place. So I'm used to it, but I totally understand.
Because I was watching your Black Panther jam choreography thing, and you did this dope move where you like jump forward like a gainer into a kip, into a cradle,
Gainer kip.
and
Yeah.
then back up. I'm like, how are his hands still on his arms? I don't understand how this works. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I just see pain. That's all I see. Like even now I'm still like I don't know how Aaron does that shit. That's all I'm thinking about every day ever since that Instagram post.
You know what's funny? There's a couple ways to go ahead and do it. You can do it with hands or without hands. The way to do it kind of with your hands, you would rather do it in place. I feel like when I'm running, I don't really use my hands. I kind of use them as a proxy, I guess. So they're kind of there, but they're not really being used too much.
All right.
I kind of spring off the top of my upper back and just use my core.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
That core.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a question
Yeah.
from Dummy Test. He said,
Mhm.
stuntmen like you are trained to near miss the actors in movies. So then in a real fight, do you miss shots unintentionally by muscle memory?
Some people do. I don't. No. But you know what? That is a great question though. It does happen. You can be so dialed where you're like, I'm gonna go ahead and use that distance. But like if I go, we're in a real fight, no, I kind of turn that off. And also I don't get into real fights really. So, you know what I mean? But I can punch someone if I need to, you know what I mean? So,
Okay, so
I don't like to fight.
just to give everyone some backstory, like, did you start out as Black Panther or you were always Falcon?
I was always Falcon first. And then I came in later. Guy de Silva, we all know Guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was.
Guy de Silva was the first Black Panther, and then I got to come on a little bit later. We were both on the same show, but we needed pickup shots, and so I would fill in and do little bits and stuff. And then when it came to reshoots, I stepped in to do the rooftop fight. So I ended up doing that whole fight again. We shot the original in Germany with another stunt gentleman, but then they scrapped all that footage and wanted to just redo it. So the Russos were there for that second unit day. I think we had 2 days of second unit. And I was specifically sort of handpicked to kind of come in and play BP for that. So
Shit.
Wow. That's
it's fun.
Damn.
That's super dope.
Yeah. So how many superheroes have you gotten to be so far? Just those two?
That's a good question. I got asked that.
Do you need any more? Oh my god! I mean, those are two
I think
bangers,
I've done about maybe four or five.
Wow.
Because there's Falcon, Black Panther. Then I've done whatchamacallit, the character from Guardians of the Galaxy, Jaimon Hansu's not the guy who says Star-Lord who or whatever.
Yeah.
Him. So I've been him. And then not many people know this, but I was on Captain Marvel as that character again. Like it was Jaimon Hansu's character with Captain Marvel's crew in the green suits. So I've got footage of that somewhere. I've got like pictures of me in the outfit.
Oh, that's dope.
Also,
Wow.
Nick Fury. I've doubled for Nick Fury as well.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
Goodness,
just
that is amazing.
Nick Fury's feet, not anything crazy.
And so I think the second question is, what's it like being so damn sexy? You got these fucking.
How dare you
dude,
come on this station with your caramel skin?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, man?
Dude, you have looked the same for the last 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
your body looks, if anything, you just look more defined as you get older. It's the craziest thing. I'm trying to like slow down the fat, and you're just looking more and more like beefed. I'm like, God damn.
You know what's funny is I think that's a testament to like partially vegan eating. Like, seriously, I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian, but I do like to introduce vegan properties into my sort of workout ethic. And so I will do like what's it called? Collagen. I like to do like turmeric. I do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, hell yeah. No, that stuff's great. It's awesome. So I use a lot of that, and it's been great. Like, there's times when I'll go chicken and then steak, and then I'll just have like cauliflower tacos another night, or in the same vein.
Yeah.
So I try not to eat as much like beef, because I know that it does have an effect. Not saying that you shouldn't eat it, but you should manage your diet accordingly, and not go, all vegan is good, or all vegan is bad, or all meat is good, all meat is bad. Like, you mix up. Everybody's body is different.
Right.
I guess I'm what you call an exomorph or an ectomorph. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So everybody has a body type, and my body type loves to stay skinny. So doubling Anthony Mackie for about almost 6 or 7 years. It's been hard because my man is not skinny. My body goes, hey, you don't need that. We're just gonna, and his body goes like this. And so there's times like I have to eat and then take a nap. I'm like, I gotta be big. So my body naturally loves to be between 170, 175. Mackie's about 200 pounds. I get up to about, I used to get up to about $185.
Okay.
That's the heaviest I've ever been.
Okay.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's, you know what, you actually took one of the questions that I was going to ask, man, and that is, how do you morph yourself into a close enough version of who are you doing these characters for? Is there like a requirement? Or like talk to me about that life? Like, do you have like a nutritionist, or is that on you? Even when it comes to like dyeing your hair or whatever it is, how do you become these people?
So for me, I take it upon myself as soon as I know I've got to double a character to do, research and see what they look like. And the stunt coordinator a lot of times will come at you and say, well, he's a little bit heavier, or he's a little bit skinnier. I've had to do both. I've had to lose weight, gain weight. You know what I mean? So doubling Mackie, I always knew like, all right, I got to put on like 5 to 10 pounds. So I'll always sort of set myself up at least a few months ahead to start that work. And so I've gotten it down to a science where I can pick up between 8 to 10 pounds in 30 days.
Wow.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Like,
that's fast.
Yeah, just like literally like proper eating, managing the sort of weights, you know what I mean? As far as, I don't know if anyone knows this, like, I'm sure everybody does. Like, when you do sort of weight training, there's like the CrossFit training where you train to get strong. Well, bodybuilder training, I take on a sort of bodybuilder approach to kind of gain that muscle, but then I'll double back and reinforce that strength with like proper, like, sort of ligament strength and sort of knee strength. Because a lot of times when you put on the weight, what happens is your joints go, oh, what are we doing? And they like start struggling. So it's important to go ahead and double up on like, glucosamine, MSM, or anything that's going to help your joints. You know what I mean? So I've been a big advocate of that stuff. And at almost 40, my body is holding really, really strong. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder as you get older because your body ages. That's just what happens. But what I've learned to do is sort of just manage it really, really well. And I can still tumble. I can still hit the ground. I can still do all kinds of things. At my age now, I don't need to like do all the like crazy recs and stuff. I've taken on more of a sort of fight coordinator and like stunt coordinator approach. So I've been able to kind of start to phase that out and start doing more sort of like what I want to do. So now I'm at like a $1.72 right now, which is what I like to kind of hover at. I'm not having to wake up and eat like avocado toast or like oatmeal with eggs in it or anything, and then take a nap and then have like a vegan protein shake. Like, but I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's not hard. It's just you have to be like, what I like to call it is a dog food diet, because a dog will eat the same thing every day. So when I have to get big for an actor, when I did it in the past, I would literally take on that sort of mentality of eating, you know, try to eat the same thing, like, well, not the same thing every day, but like have it in your like schedule during the week to kind of maintain that so that it's consistent. And it from that moment on, it's easy. It's not really hard.
Right.
Anybody can do it. You don't need like, you know, steroids or other things to kind of do that stuff. It's just time. That's all.
Doing Falcon and the Winter Soldier, circling back to that, was it different doing action on a show versus? I mean, you also did Altered Carbon, so you have experience with Mackie and doing a show before. But is it any different than working on like a feature film in terms of like the approach, the time you have to do it, you know, developing the choreography, all that stuff?
Yes. God, yes. Okay. So there's two different schedules. There's the movie schedule, which is great. It's spread out across, 8 to 10 weeks, whether you're doing pre-production and you get time to kind of train. And then there's the TV schedule, which is kind of like as we go, we will develop and sort of hone the action. Sometimes what we have is like there's two different types of TV schedules. There is block shooting and there's crossboarding. And the difference is, when you block shoot, everything is set up with that director, whether you have a director who's there for the entire run of the show, or if you get a director for like, one episode and then they come back later and you start crossboarding where you have to be multiple spots, you know what I mean? But the schedule with TV is so much more intense because you're kind of under the gun. And depending on the show, Altered Carbon was really hard for me because I was fight coordinating the show and lead double. And so they would be like, can you be at this production meeting? And I'm like, I got to train actors. And they're like, it would be really good if you came to this production meeting. And I'm like, not going to happen. And so I'd be like, can someone just relay me notes? Because I'm not going. Like, I got to train actors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you just kind of learn to kind of pick your battles and sort of manage what's important, to kind of get the job done.
Right.
Let me ask you like a quick question, because you said something that I probably would need a little bit more clarification. Like if I go on IMDb and I'm checking out like stunt credits, I see like different titles. I'll see like a stuntman, and then I'll see stunt double, and then I'll see a stunt coordinator or fight coordinator. For those that aren't in the industry, can you like give like a quick definition of what those titles do and how that works in the world?
Your stunt coordinator is responsible for the overall safety of not only his department, but a lot of times the entire crew, depending on what's happening on set. So like if we've got like fire or like, explosions and stuff, it's kind of up to the stunt coordinator to make sure that not only his crew is prepped, but make sure that there are precautions in place to make sure that the crew is actually protected as well. Because the stunt coordinator is usually bonded by the studio. So when something goes wrong, they look to a specific person to look at and go, were proper measures put in place to keep things safe and stuff like that. It gets into a whole thing. But that's kind of your stunt coordinator is usually the person who's really in charge. And then below that, you have a fight coordinator who is usually in charge of setting up fisticuffs, fights and action and such. And they are responsible for sort of putting their sort of team in place to kind of previs and design fights for the actual TV or production. Your stunt double is responsible for doubling whoever they are sort of assigned to. So if you have usually what we have is called a 1X and a 2X and a 3X. Those are usually reserved for your stunt doubles because they usually double principal actors. And then you have fight choreographers who are usually, they come in and they will usually double up as not only a trainer, but they will help choreograph, or they're responsible for choreographing the overall action for TV or said feature. And was there another one you were talking about? So I got Stunt coordinators.
I think you covered it.
Stunt doubles.
Yeah, I think that's it, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
covered
Yeah, that clarification goes a very long way.
Did you want to throw in the super chats real quick?
Yeah, so Cuckoo Chiku, meow to you too. Dummy Test asked, do you also need to change your body movements according to the actor that you're playing?
Yes and no.
Okay.
In terms of if you're like, if you come in for a show and they've got things already established and you're like, Nicolas Cage runs like this, I need you to run like that. You're gonna run like that. In terms of Marvel stuff, it's been kind of lax because I think what's happened, especially with Falcon and other characters, is a lot of the doubles have been responsible for doing a style that best suits their attributes. So I got set up to do Falcon, and early on I kind of started doing a lot of CQC and like Taekwondo stuff, and so that kind of established his style based on what my strengths were. So that is why Falcon can do what he can do. The first time we saw him, I wasn't really allowed to do anything. Like I was trying to introduce like 720s and 540s like early on, and they were like, he's not that advanced. And I was like, got it. And then when they saw what I was able to do, they were like, let's try some more of that stuff. And so I got to do, the Falcon split kick and started playing around with all kinds of other things. And so when I did Falcon and Winter Soldier, by the time we got there, I was able to just go off because they were like, yeah, Falcon does what you do. And I was like, oh, cool. I can do what I want now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of established that. Heidi Moneymaker, like it's the same thing. Widow's style is Heidi. You know what I mean? It's not what's good. It's been established for the character, but because Heidi, is who she is, that's why you got Widow doing lucha libre moves and a bunch of like really cool acro stuff and poses, because that is Heidi.
Right.
And that goes for any character. Black Panther style was kind of already established, where it was like capoeira mixed with the like tricking, and that's gi. You know what I mean? And so any character that stepped into that realm, that's what you did.
Right.
But if you're on like say like Pirates of the Caribbean and you've got Johnny Depp doing his Jack Sparrow thing, you don't run like Tom Cruise and do like the Tom Cruise run. No, you're gonna run like Jack Sparrow. You're gonna kind of put on the flamboyance and do your thing. You know what I mean? Because that's important. Right. You know what I mean? There's such an iconic approach to certain things. You have to take it as a case by case basis.
Right. I mean, I think you kind of covered Khalid Wahab's question just now and earlier, because he asked how hard is it to mimic the actor you're playing or get in shape for the specific actor.
Yeah, you covered that.
Doubling. Yeah, you covered that. Dummy Test, thank you for the compliment. Kamal Shashank says, conflicted between watching Aaron Toney on Corridor Crew or on Get Jabby. Also, Jabby, you have so many mutual friends with Corridor Crew. Why aren't you making a collab happen?
Oh, I'm not enough of a stunt professional to be on that show. and then
Cuckoo Chiku came back in with another question. He says, Aaron, how much acting is involved in a stunt? A long time ago, Jabby used the term stunt actor. I've been wondering about the difference since then.
Yes, yeah. There are some people in the business that are stunt actors, and meaning they just don't have a double. They are fully capable to come in, do lines, and get shot, and they wear their own pads and they take reactions. Basically, you call them Jackie Chans of the stunt community. Sometimes I get put in for those roles too, and I've kind of started to kind of venture off into the sort of acting realm. Just because I want to do other things, which is why I started doing Project H. But yeah, a lot of sort of people, you have like there's all kinds of things in the business. You have your people who are just dedicated to sort of like utility people, and they do everything. There's people who are stunt actors, and that's their thing, and they work a lot. So you can do either or in the business. You know what I mean? Just both carry stunt bags, and one just has more dialogue.
One of your earliest gigs was with Jackie Chan, right? On Rush Hour 3?
Yeah, I did Rush Hour 3, doubling Chris Tucker.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Watching the legend. Oh, man, I can only imagine.
Yeah, that was great. What an experience. That was fun.
Yeah, I just remember. I remember being at Gymnastics Olympica, and you came in. You're like, I just did Rush Hour 3. I'm like, what? You're like, yeah, I just crashed into this building or something. Like you had a crash that you did. I don't remember exactly what it was. You want to talk about it for a sec?
Yeah, I think I had to bail out of a car with Jackie's stunt double, and it was like one of the gnarliest things I had ever done as a young performer, because I was like, we just gonna jump out of the car? That's it. Okay. You know what I mean? So Brad Allen is there, and he's just like, Aaron. So yeah, we gonna have you and Mr. Lee. You guys are gonna jump out of the car. And I was like, yes, sir. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing. I'm okay. He was like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry. We have pads. We're gonna wear a pressure suit. So pressure suits are these sort of armored suits. They have like shoulder armor and they've got chest armor and back armor, and you put those on. And I was able to wear one of those along with Mr. Lee had one on under our sort of suits. We were wearing like sort of like casual business suits, and they fit really well. So when you see that stunt, I was wearing one of those, and I had on wrist guards. And being a young performer, and I've done this, and this is why I'm glad to talk about this, because I talked about this on Quarter Crew, I think, about bailing out of a car. What you don't want to do is you don't put your hands down, because the car, the ground is rushing, and you're like, oh my God, which way is it going? Is it going left to right or right to left? My God, I don't know. So what I did is I bailed, and I immediately put my hands down, and my hands washed out from under me. And so being, a young performer, I was young enough to bounce back, but I think I did 5 takes. By the fifth take, I was limping. I was done.
Shit.
Wow.
God damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
For those of you guys who don't know, Brad Allen is he goes way back with Jackie Chan's stunt team. He came on to the crew with Mr. Nice Guy, is what I understand.
Yes, correct.
It was a crazy story where his friend was working on Mr. Nice Guy, and so he rushed down to the set, and he met Jackie Chan, and his crew was like, show us what you can do, and he started showing him tricks and stuff like that, and the crew was like, yeah. You're part of the stunt team now, first white dude to be part of Jackie Chan's stunt team.
Yeah. Brad is amazing. He was oh my God, man, boxer, wushu. He could pretty much mimic anything. Circus arts, like he literally is the jack of all trades. And I kind of mimicked my sort of skill set off of Brad, because I felt that if you can do all of that, I feel like you can do just about anything. And so I literally joined the circus doing a show called Cirque de la Mer, and so I started playing around with like circus elements, and I took up tricking. So Brad Allen has been one of those people that's had a huge influence on my career as well.
Oh shit!
Wow,
that's crazy. On Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I can't help even with Altered Carbon, I can't help but notice when it's you. Like I always know it's you. I just pick up because I've known you for so long. It's just I just pick you out of, I pick you out of a crowd. But my question is, because I've been watching you flip since I was a kid. What's it like when you have to put on the gear and stuff like that? Because you were wearing like Falcon's Captain America outfit, and you're still doing all the flips and stuff like that. How much more exertion is it on your body? Like, are there mats around, or are you just doing this on concrete? Like, what's that like?
So, I actually early on knew what it was like to be in those suits. Those suits add about 5 to 10 pounds. Oh, shit. Like, we'll just get that out the way. They're not light. So when you put one on, it's like wearing football pads plus a little bit more.
Oh wow!
Because what you have a full suit. Every Falcon suit and Captain America has been made out of some form of cordura, which is a fabric that is military spec. It does not break, which is great. It just means that it's a little bit heavy for you. So it looks great, but you have to sort of train for that. And so that's what I've done over the years. Is just wearing like weight vests and stuff like that. But I've also learned to strip down certain gear. And early on for Falcon and Winter Soldier, what I ended up doing is getting in early and making sure that I had special shoes made. So the entire run of show, I'm wearing a pair of, I don't know, maybe everybody will enjoy this, a pair of Kobe's. I have a pair of Kobe high top shoes, and they're the Kobe 9 Elites. They're the high top ones. My friend Chris Brewster introduced them to me. He was working on Daredevil, and during that time, he had an ankle injury, and so Kobe had developed those specific shoes when he had bad ankles, and so they have carbon fiber in the heel, and that carbon fiber secures your ankle really well. Basically, they look like a sort of a hybrid basketball shoe / boxing shoe, and they're like one of the best shoes that you can ever wear. So I got that built in around not only Falcon shoes, but Falcon cap shoes as well. And it's one of those things where you have to kind of like, listen, like we're going to do some pretty extreme action. And I had to go back and forth with like wardrobe, because at first they were like, oh my God, do you really need these shoes? And it's just like, yeah. It's like, I'm not gonna do this in your clodhopper Reeboks that you bought with big old heel in them and all that. I'm just not, you know what I mean? So it's like trying to be as polite as you can with costumes and wardrobe, and trying to explain to them what you really need to achieve the action you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay. So at first they were like, we can't find the actual shoes. And I was like, you can't find these Kobe's? I know like 5 sites where I can find them. So I literally ended up buying 5 pair of Kobe's in my size and the other potential double size. And I went, here are the shoes. And they were like, fine, we'll go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? At first, but then, you know, it's like one of those things where like eventually they understood, you know, because they were like, wow, you're doing all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, couldn't have done those with your shoes. Like, you know, and it's okay. It's like, it's what you don't know, you know what I mean? And from a costume and wardrobe perspective, they understand what they need to do. And their job is to go and make the suit according to spec as far as what Marvel wants. Great, got it. My job is to go ahead and make the character look as awesome as possible, along with whatever help I can get from any other stunt double. So I was doing my job, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where you gotta pick your battles and go, are we gonna go ahead and use these shoes that you can't really do anything in, or are we gonna go with these? And we went with the ones that I needed, which turned out to be, you know, a good thing. So it's just one of those things. You pick your battles.
So you've trained yourself to flip with a weight vest. Did I hear that right?
Yes and no. The costume, how can I explain this? You have pauldrons, you have greaves, literally every suit that I've ever worn. I've gotten really accustomed to anatomy of Marvel suits and stuff like that, especially for like my own future projects and prop design and stuff like that with what I got going on. But I've learned to kind of talk with the people early and hey, talk with VFX, talk with costumes and say, hey, we need to make sure that we can take off certain pieces of the costume so that I can go ahead and do certain moves. So what I got good at is taking off the greaves, because let's go ahead and be real. The costume is designed to sell toys, and I understand that. But at the same time, my job is to go ahead and do exactly what I need to do so that the character looks really good. So, you know, you just get in there early and you go ahead and talk to, you know, your stunt coordinator and everybody else and VFX, and you say, is everybody okay if I take these greaves off? And they go, yeah, it's fine. And most of the time it's fine, but sometimes they go, you took off the greaves. And I was like, you either gonna get this flip or you're gonna get toy sales. I don't know which you want me to do. Like either way. So most of the time it was fine. And I think we had a really good working relationship with props, VFX, and costumes to kind of do what we needed to do. And it was based off a case-by-case basis. Yeah. There are times when I'm wearing everything and I'm doing Rex. And there are times when I'm wearing hardly any of the suit and because I've got to do flips. You know what I mean? And they're like, okay.
Yeah. So Rex for the layman is like crashes and stuff like that. You taking falls and whatnot.
You wear everything.
Yeah. So that final fight scene with Carly, how many times, if you remember, did you have to go through that routine? Because you had a crazy little choreography of flipping going on there, maneuvering around her. How many times did you have to go through that? That's one of my big fears whenever I'm asked to do a flip. It was what?
That was a rough day.
Okay, I would imagine.
In terms of just like I had to do everything. So there was a lot going on that day. We shot a bunch of that stuff over the course of a few weeks. So we would go and do day for night work, and then we would sometimes come back there to do pickups. And it was one of those days where I was working on another set, had to do all this stuff, and then come back here, and they were like, we're gonna do, you know, the tricking sequence tonight along with you carrying her away because she's I can say this now. We've all seen Falcon and Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah, spoilers.
Because she's dead. You know what I mean? So I had to do a bunch of choreography. Then they were like, all right, let's do the tricking pass. And I was like, all right, so let's take off these greaves, take off the greaves. And they're like, all right, let's do it. So I did one take, great. Breathing. I'm already tired because I had to do some other stuff. All right, let's do it again. Take 2. I was like, okay, great. Take 3. And they're like, okay. And I was like, dying. I was like, I need a minute. So I like sit down and just kind of chill out for a minute. All right, Aaron, ready again? Take 4 and 5. I was just like, you know, I don't know if you guys have done this, but sometimes stuff people do what's called a battle cry. And it's when you're either know you're gonna get wrecked or you're just so exhausted that you need that like extra sort of like gust. And there might be BTS of me just going because I'm so tired. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, I just want to curl up in a ball right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did it a few times, and then right after that, I was asked to carry the stunt double away. Like right after I had done like take 4 or 5, they're like, all right, Aaron, we're gonna go ahead and carry her away because this is a really good setup. And I was like, okay. And I'm carrying her away, and I'm like, oh my God, I hate you all right now. Like, so yeah, that's the life of a stunt double. No one cares. It's just like you do what you got to do. I care. So if I see somebody else struggling, I'm like, you need a minute? Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you know, like sometimes no one cares, and it's understandable. But you know, it's just one of those things. That's the job.
Has there ever been an instance where they got it on the first take, and you're like, cool?
I've never said that. I take that back. I have said this, and this is maybe later on in my career. Okay, for anyone out there aspiring to be a stunt person or a stunt professional, don't do what I do. I do what I do because I'm older and you can't tell me anything at this point. So, anyways, saying that now, I've actually said you get 3. I've said it before, and it's because sometimes the gag is so extreme that you're like, we're not doing this a million times. So what you try to do is you try to warn camera and set them up and go, hey, let's go ahead and dial it in, and then once we're ready to go, we're really going to hit it hard. So you go ahead and say, we're going to do 2 of these, we're going to do 3 of these, and that's rare for me to do that. But I've done that, and even on this show, I was like, I got 2 in me. You know what I mean? Like I did a gag where it was, I think it was like Ratchet to Deadman to the deck, but I had the Falcon backpack also. It was great. It still sucked, but it was better than nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I had like a little itty bitty pad, and I'll post a video of the BTS later because it was gnarly, and the way it was covered wasn't right. But it was like one of those things where I knew that I was like, these guys aren't gonna get it. And so I talked with my boss and I said, I got 3 of these, and he was like, okay. And we were in agreement that we weren't gonna do this over and over and over again, because you sometimes think about that. It's like, is it worth me, worth the sort of effort to go ahead and just continue to do it while these guys try to figure it out? Or do you set them up and go, hey, this is it, you know what I mean? So that they're on it, you know what I mean? So I've done that. I have, and it's a case by case basis, but you pick your battles.
That's a good trick. That's a good trick I need to tell a Char going forward.
Oh yeah, because he gets so annoyed at me. So I'll just be like,
that little stupid little cradle thing I did that like 8 times because she couldn't get the camera right. I'm like, God damn it, Char! Look, my wrists are dying. You didn't get it the first 7 times.
I got it, but then you were so like specific. I'm like, oh my God, this is why. I was like, tell me how you want me to shoot it, please.
It's hard not being able to be in 3 places at once, man.
You're like, I can't tell you how to shoot it, but I got to do it.
Exactly. I think Syntell ran off to go to the restroom.
I just wanted to ask this question for Rupendra Gelot. He asked, have you given any spoilers to anyone knowing so much about movies sometimes? Do you ever accidentally? No.
He's bound by contract.
You're like, nope, cannot.
Nope.
Okay.
Do you want to catch
No.
Okay. Okay, so Dummy Test asked, even with pads, do the hits hurt?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Cuckoo
not all the time. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes just like it's one of those things. I guess what I would say is it takes the edge off. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff people say that it takes the edge off, but sometimes it's better than nothing. Like we get like little foam pads, which are great, but you're still getting concussed. But it's way better than getting concussed to the concrete if you can help it.
Yeah.
Right. And then Kukuchiku asks, sometimes directors want scene to appear in a certain way. How much does a stunt double have a say in getting that shot if it's not possible the way the director wants? Does that ever happen?
You really don't have a say. I mean, unless you're in a good sort of working relationship with that director, you don't really go up and say, I think we should cover it from here. You don't do that, guys. Don't. That's not good. That is not a good look. Your job, if you're the stunt double, is to go ahead and sort of advise as far as safety and how to cover your actor's action. But if you're like cast number 5 and you're like featured, maybe something like that, if you can have that working relationship. But you don't go and tell camera or the director how to shoot your gag.
But like, is there
that'll get you fired?
Oh yeah, I bet. But is there ever like have you ever been asked to do anything and you're like, Yeah, that's not actually physically possible, though.
Oh, totally. And that's also a case by case basis. You're asked to do things like, can you like be in midair and like go the other way? And it's like, no, I can't. I can't do that. I don't have a wire on.
Yeah, Mark.
It's funny sometimes.
Mark Mushu. That's I forgot his full last name. Musashi. Mark Musashi.
Yeah.
He was working on Last of Us or one of those video games. He was doing some kind of what's it called, mocap thing. And they're like, can you like jump these 3 stories and land on one leg? He's like, this is mocap, right? They're like, yeah. So he's like, why don't I do the jump? And then you pick up me jumping on this one leg. How about that?
Yeah.
And then you stitch that together. It's all computers, right?
Right.
I had a question, and because I'm of the theory that if you're going into a fight scene with someone relatively inexperienced, you're probably going to have an easier time working with a dancer than you would with someone who really fights. And you had to do a fight scene with George St. Pierre, right?
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Because I don't know his fight scene experience. I know he's like an actual fighter.
Yeah. George is great. He loves the stunt guys and loves hanging around. And anytime he had a fight, he always wanted to rehearse it. So it was great to get that time.
Cool.
So no, George is amazing. I wish his fight got edited better. I think that there was a lot. Like, I wonder if I can. I've got BTS of that too. At some point, I'll release that. But yeah, man, he's amazing. I think his action in the Winter Soldier film is a lot better because you get to see a lot of what George does naturally. And there are some Easter eggs in the Falcon and Winter Soldier fight. I got asked this in an interview. Do you ever put Easter eggs in any of the action? I said yes. And one of the things was George St. Pierre's rush. You know what I mean? He always rushes people and like double legs them. So I had Falcon. I was like, I wonder if we could try to make Falcon take off and like, try to rocket bulldog him. And George just comes in as Batroc and like grabs his legs, swings him around and like dumps him. And it's in there, but it's not in there the way that would highlight it the way I wanted to, because that was specifically for GSP. Like we did that for him.
Wow.
And it was one of those gags you're like, man, this is gonna hurt. But I'm like, but it's George, you got to do it. It was great. You know what I mean? So it was fun.
Did you have
that kind of ties into like a question I was curious about regarding like those kind of special moves, because there's a lot of artists out there that have their things that they're known for. Tarantino's known for shots out the trunk. Michael Jordan is known for hanging his tongue out when he's about to do his dunk. Casey from Jodeci got the ooh yeah. I'm wondering as a stunt performer, is there like a signature thing, a signature move, something that you're known for, or some small minor thing? Like for instance, Anthony knows, Jabby knows you. He said, I just know my man. I know how he moves. Do you have that little thing that's like, this is me, this is my thing while you're doing your your
a lot
art?
of people, it's really funny when they saw the final episode of that Falcon and Winter Soldier, the whole tricking pass, that's a gag I can do in my sleep. So even though I was tired, I was like, I got this because I can do this in my sleep. Cartwheel side flip is one of the first tricks I ever learned with Jabby over at LA Valley College with Dan Southworth. And so learning that move, it was like a callback to the good old days. And so I got messages about, Aaron, I saw you goddamn cartwheel side flip. I knew it was fucking you. And I was like, yeah. so that's one of my like signature things. And it's funny because I didn't really get to do that till like that, you know what I mean? But I like to do jump back kicks. I've done a lot of jump back kicks and stuff. Kips, I've done like running kips or standing kips.
The kip,
Black Panther is
the kip
like,
is where you come through your back.
To do a kip. I'm like, I got
feet.
this all day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was I going to ask you? The choreography, because there was some really, really dope stuff in the episode when Johnny Walker kills that guy with the shield. There was some cool. Yeah, there was some cool choreography there. How much talking are you doing with VFX while you make up the fight scenes?
Yeah, a lot of that we had a great team. Justin Eaton doubled for Wyatt Russell, and a lot of those moves, Jeeton likes to. He's a staff guy, so his body is very versed in like sort of like fun sort of moves to do with like, you know, a staff. Little backstory on myself and Justin Eaton. We were both the original doubles for another show called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is the first movie I ever doubled Anthony on. So myself, Justin Eaton, and Anthony Mackie go way back. There's like pictures of me. Like the first time like I took a picture with Mackie, it's like both of us clean shaven, because Mackie always has like the sort of black action hero like goatee. I like to call it that is the black action hero. You know it is. It's the black action hero. Because I've worn it. Not only Chris Tucker, Chris Brown, Anthony Mackie, Eddie Murphy, all these people wear the same style. And I'm like, y'all ain't gonna change it? No? All right. So I make sure to like grow my shit out, because once I'm done with that, I'm like, shave this shit or let it grow out. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the black action. I refuse. Anything I do, if you put like the black action hero on me, I'm like, not doing it.
Yeah. Justin Eaton, last time.
What was the question again? I got off topic. Sorry.
How much are you talking to VFX whenever you're choreographing the fight scenes? Because there was something I called the rocket fart, when like you turn or Anthony Mackie turned and like his rocket shot out like and blasted someone away. And like there was just some really creative stuff in there, and I'm like, well, there's got to be talks with VFX in making up these fight scenes. It's all very intricate.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering how that goes.
When it came to, because you're talking about the C-130 fight also. When it comes to a lot of that, it's a lot of stuff talking with Dave McCumber, who's a wizard. Love Dave McCumber, who's our stunt coordinator, fight coordinator. Me talking with Dave and going, Dave, what do you think? Do you think if we like use the rockets to sort of like hit people with the gust, or if we use the like wings to go ahead and trip, Walker or stuff like that. So a lot of that stuff is me just going, what do I want to see with these wings? And I go, I've never done that before. I've never done this before. Clotheslines with the wings are kind of a signature for Falcon. He's done that to a couple of people. But the sort of bulletproof sort of wing thing, like that was so good to go ahead and finally have that fun with that. I've been trying to do that for years. I'm like, are these wings bulletproof yet? I would ask Nate Moore, are the wings bulletproof yet? He'd be like, no. I'm like, okay. So finally, one of those things, I was like, we got the bulletproof wings, and finally we got to use them. So that C-130 fight is ideas that I've kind of had in my head for years. Just like, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I want to like, rocket away and like drive somebody's head into a crate. You know what I mean? It's just me going, let's do this. Like the Falcon split kick, had that since like Abraham Lincoln. Finally, I got to go ahead and use it in Civil War. It's just things that I've had in my brain. Yeah. Forever.
A question that I saw in the chats, I can't remember who asked it, but how did you feel when you saw the new Captain America outfit? Like, what was that?
Oh man, it was one of those things. I had known early on that it was going to happen, so it definitely sent me over the edge to go and go, this is it. Okay, so if you're gonna do anything, it's got to be now. So it was a tremendous feeling of accomplishment, like seriously, because I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. It's just, with like the state of the world and things going on. So it actually, not to get all sentimental to everybody, but it meant the world, because in my mind, it speaks of hope for people of color, and about change and about just being accepted. And it was really awesome to see Falcon go from sort of the sort of no one cared. I would hear this on set, man. Like people were like, he's just the guy with wings. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. You know what I mean? And finally, when you get validated in Civil War and you get to do your thing, and then people start to really appreciate who the character is for Mackie and for myself. I think we slowly won the fans over because no one cared. Yeah. Nobody cared. You know what I mean? And so it means the world to get to that point and to get there with Mackie. It was extremely emotional. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was great to finally put it on. And you take all the photos, and they're like, don't take pictures. I'm taking all the photos. I don't care what you say to me. I'm taking all the photos right now. I didn't post any of those photos, but I took all the photos.
Right.
You won't tell me not to take photos. You lost your mind.
I'm not mad at you for that at all. Hey, I approve this message.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful.
What was with what you just said in mind? What was the show like for you personally, with the story and the messages that were being promoted in this particular season?
I think everything that Malcolm Spellman presented was righteously acted by Mr. Mackey, and for Isaiah's character as well, and for Sebastian. Seriously, everybody that had a sort of a come up came up. Like, we saw Bucky kind of get his due and really like validate himself and accept himself, and that is a lot. In a comic book movie, you don't see that level of acting very, very often. So hats off to Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie, because they went for it. They really did, and they were like, even though you go, this is a comic book, but they have history with these characters, and so it is a part of them, and that it's important to me as much as it's important to them. So for me, coming in was kind of it was like senior year, you know what I mean? Because you go, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. Yeah. And so they did their thing. They really came with it. You know, the scene where Bucky finally cries and is relieved, you know what I mean? And he finally hear like Ao say, "You are free." You know, oh my God. I don't know anybody who wasn't emotional during that scene. And then for Mackie, it was the moment where he is with Isaiah in the sort of memorial, and you finally get tribute to his character, and it's just like that's beautiful. You know what I mean? So it's great. I think there was justice for everyone. And so some people didn't like it, and that's okay. But I think it means different things to different people, and to me, it means the world. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. What was it like choreographing with the okay, for instance, that episode we were talking about with use the rocket blast and whatnot. There were some people who were complaining about that episode because they're like, how is it possible when this person's not a super soldier, this person is a super soldier? What's it like choreographing with that in mind? Do you even consider that, or you're like, let's just make this as fun as possible? Like, oh
man, when you work on these Marvel films, I think it's important to take some sense of reality into account, because it's going to set your choreography up accordingly. Choreography without story is just kicks and punches. When your choreography has story, I think everybody appreciates that. So the fact that people are questioning it, great, that's fine. But we also go, there's reality, and then there's Marvel reality. And you go, well, it's because, this is weighted. Falcon's always worn all of his gear. If you really thought about it, it's sort of like, how do you say, it's military grade, and it's light enough. But it's not so light that you're not gonna, be able to, how do you say, like, if you're being propelled, what's allowing you to stay there? Well, he's got on greaves, and you could go ahead and say that, well, the greaves are a little heavy because there's actually rockets in those too. You know what I mean? So you kind of weight yourself down accordingly. I think about this stuff all the time, you know what I mean, when I'm choreographing. Because I get asked those questions. Well, could you do that because of this and that? And I remember this one time, you'll know about this later. Every Falcon costume has had rockets in the actual calves, except for the one on the show. And I personally think that whoever designed them flipped the actual things upside down, because I took off the actual cap piece and I looked at them and I was like, these are upside down. And I was like, you mother jumpers. I was like, these are supposed to be rockets. They've always been rockets. And somebody was like, they're vents. And I was like, no, they're supposed to be rockets. So whoever did that messed up, I personally think, because he's always had rockets in the caps, because those are another device that he uses, you know what I mean? Because you got the rockets on your back and you thought about the wings, and now you got some kind of steering mechanism in your caps, which is why we always go leg up, leg down, because we're actually, I would do those with like turns, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you're steering the wings, you don't just, you can go in and lean, but it's like, why don't you use some sort of body mechanics to actually make yourself right yourself or to go opposite side? And so it was a weird thing. We went back and forth on that. They're like, don't lift the legs, lift the legs. It's like, sometimes the director would go, yeah, do the like leg up thing. And sometimes VFX would be like, don't do the like leg up thing. And I'm like, y'all really understand how this works. Like, y'all need to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
And there were even times when like Falcon landings, I got asked this a lot. They were like, so when you land, don't tuck up your legs. And I'm like, what do you think parachute people do when they come in for a landing? They like tuck up their legs and they brace for the landing. So what you're telling me is not to tuck my legs up because it looks weird to you. I'm like, I don't think you've watched many parachute people. Like, seriously, I think about this stuff because I want like the character to make sense. And so when you hear from somebody that probably doesn't have physical experience, they go, don't do that with your legs. And you go, I want to pull them off the side. I'm like, but why would you not do that? So you mean to tell me you're gonna come in stiff-legged and just break your knees when you go ahead and land?
Out.
Break it all up.
So yeah, I've battled that my entire career with like this character. It's been fun.
When dealing with Marvel characters, like the fan base is just rabid, like absolutely, like, oh no, this stripe should have been at 35 degrees and it's at 90, and it's like next level, just absolute ridiculousness of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, have you had to deal with like these gatekeepers of the comics integrity? And if you have, like, how do you deal with that? Because what you're saying is amazing regarding the details of the action sequences, but there's always that one person.
There's always one.
In episode 6, he didn't. It's how do you deal with that?
I look at every comment and then I go, not gonna touch that. I'm not gonna get into it with fans. I'm like, y'all can believe what you want to believe, but I see everything. So when you guys are like, oh man, he doesn't reply. No, I see him. I just choose not to reply.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna get into that. There's no way. Because it gets into a this and that. And it's like when you get into it with fans, it's dangerous. Because sometimes they'll either appreciate you or they'll like, yeah, you suck. And I'm just like, I don't have the time. I just don't have the time. I appreciate all the fans, but it's like, I do not have time to be a keyboard warrior and go back and forth.
Yeah.
There is one person that said one thing and it got me because I was doing, I did like an old wushu compulsory move with the sort of shield. I did like a sort of jump, like sort of this pose in the air, and then I did a B-twist. And somebody on some Instagram saw the video and went, that was a bad landing. And then I was like, truth, but put on combat boots and hold a rubber shield and then you go ahead and try it. And so that was the one time I like checked someone because I was just like, you have no idea what's going on. You have no clue. And I even prefaced and said, I'm a little heavy, things are a little off, but I thought that this was really, really cool with like doing concepts, and everybody was like, yeah, cool. And I think you understand. There's always that one person like, he had a bad landing. And you're like, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm glad that you picked up on that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we all know that now.
Yeah.
We all know.
Speaking of people being critical, I feel like when we look at our own stuff, we're the most critical. And now you've gotten the chance to see this finally, like it's all done, editing's done. Mm-hmm. Like looking at each fight scene you participated in, how much of you is cheering versus how much of you is going, oh, they should have edited this way. They should have got this coverage.
Jabby, why are you going to ask that question? I'm about to open up, man. Bro, I'm going to be really nice on this because this is going to get posted somewhere. I wasn't very happy with, I would say, 20% of the action.
That's a good number.
Like,
that's a good number.
Not bad.
Yeah, because usually I rip it to shreds. Like man, there's been times I'm like, I might as well not even been there. You know what I mean? And there's times when the trailer shows more of the actual stunt than the actual edit, and you're like, what is going on? Let's put it this way. I know the editor's name by name, and so every time something happens, I go, God damn it, so-and-so. I do, because I know exactly who the editor is, and it drives me batty. And that's all I'll say. Drives me absolutely insane. But this one, that's all I'm saying. They actually let me go off. That first fight in episode 1 is the longest they've ever let anything that I've ever done breathe. And I was kind of like, I sat there and watched it and I was like, I could have done that better. And my wife was just sitting there and she was like, that was really good. And I had to go back and watch it. I was like, that was pretty good. They actually let me breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. But man, that last episode, boy, man.
Yeah, because for me, like knowing the people involved, like yourself, and I watch this stuff, and I go, they didn't get good coverage of him there, and it's just like it's so it pisses off my audience because they're like, look, we know you know. I'm like, no, but you don't get it. It's like I know what it's like to hurt.
Yeah.
You know,
you know, bro. Right?
Exactly. Just like sacrifice your body to do these things, and then they don't cover it very well. And I'm like, no, but they could.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just shut up. I'll just fan out. I'll just be fanboying right now because I'm getting too mad about the technical shit. Gotta let it go.
Oh, okay, I'll go and say this. The fight between Batroc and Falcon as Cap was so much better. We had another Atlanta local kid come in to double Batroc the Leaper because he's known for his flips. So we hired a guy that could trick, and this kid was doing box cutters. He went J-step box cutter, kicked Cap, and they cut that out. All of the like hand-to-hand, there's shots of hand-to-hand, like with myself and GSP, cut all that stuff out. It was a long runner. Bah, 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 all that, cut it. They hacked that last fight to shreds. And I get it because story is king. But somewhere on the editing room floor is the rest of GSP's fight. And it was great. And I was just like, wow, there's a lot of really good stuff in here, I bet. And it's stuff that even when you see him, maybe it isn't the fastest, you can always speed that up. There's things that you can do in the edit. And I feel like for the sake of time, no one wanted to go, no, we're not going to have time. Just go ahead and cut here. There's even one moment I do tornado sidekick. And I saw this in the edit, and I'm going to fix it later, and I will post this too. They used the wrong insert, and it was me doing tornado, and it was Mackie doing a front kick, and I was like, that's the wrong way. So when you go back, if anybody goes back and watches that fight, you will rip it up even more because you'll go, wow, it was a really good fight. And you'll go, no, man, it wasn't. It wasn't because they literally swapped inserts, and it's not good. Yeah. It's just not. Yeah. So you go, okay, that's okay. Yeah. For the sake of time. Yeah. I guess.
I'm able to keep up with all the terminology, but I don't know what a box cutter is.
Box cutter is a corkscrew with an extra half twist, and you're kicking with the spin kick. Okay. So you finish on the back leg. So there's like cork round. So you would kick with the front leg. Yeah. You're gonna skip this leg and go to the back leg and throw a hook kick.
Last time I tried a corkscrew, it landed right on my face.
We have all done it where you just twist too early, man.
Yeah. I was. I have like a funny history with corkscrews. That's how I met Mike Moe. You know Mike Moe, right?
I know Mike Moe. Yeah.
He for those of you guys who don't know, he played Bruce Lee in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I met him at a park because, in North Hollywood, all the stunt people train all the time before, Jam, before all these places that you could go to. And he's like, are you a tricker? I'm like, no, not at all. And then I go and do a corkscrew. He's like, how fucking dare you not call yourself a tricker? You just threw a corkscrew. I'm like, look, man, that's all I can do. I can do that in like a cartwheel. That's it.
That's all I got, man. Leave me alone.
Exactly. We actually ran into Justin Eaton at LA Fitness. He's one of the nicest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's one of the nicest people on the planet. Like the most it's crazy. Like because so many stunt people are like so badass on camera, and then off camera they're like just the nicest, most jovial people. It's the weirdest thing. I can't even make sense of it. But anyway, man, is there any other questions here?
I saw some stuff like people in the chats were having a very heated debate about whether the suit was actually is it a real suit. Or is it CGI? Like, how much of that is CGI? Are the wings real or are they CGI?
Which suit? The wings are full CGI. I never wore practical wings. There was talk about that. Okay, the first Winter Soldier where Falcon arrives, they actually, I think they made wings, and I was like, am I ever gonna have to wear these? And they were like, no. And I was like, great. I was like, you can't wear these things, man. This is like, there's no way. There's just no way.
The one thing I wanted to comment on, and I told you this in person at Lion King, but I just wanted to say it again.
Mm-hmm.
Like the split kick in Civil War is so goddamn beautiful, and I hate that they cut it up because, like you said in the trailer,
that's so and so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As soon as you said it, I was like, that's so and so.
Because you see,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you see it in the trailer, and you see the whole thing with the split and the 3-point landing and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then in the movie, it's like back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, why are you cutting this up? It's beautiful as it is. Just leave it alone, guy. Like, just leave it alone. I would love to see like the stunt coordinator or stuntman edits of all the fight scenes of like all these Marvel films.
We literally would curse him out. We would be like, goddamn so and so. We especially when when we saw the movie, you're like, did you see what so and so did? Yep, I saw what so and so did. But they left Heidi's stuff. Oh yeah, Heidi's stuff was great. And I was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So no, it's a thing. It is a thing, and
yeah.
I personally think not to jab that this is per person too hard. I think this person is a great editor as far as creating the tension and stuff like that. But sometimes when it came to the fights, they would just drop it. You're just like, your pace is killing my vibe, and it's killing a lot of performers' vibes. And that's just one of those things that I think Marvel appreciates people who can kind of save the day when things aren't working right. So then they kind of get the keys to the kingdom, and it happens. It does. Yeah. It's understandable. Not to say this person is a bad editor. This person is a really good editor in terms of what they're able to do with pace. When it comes to fight, I do not agree. I don't. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just don't.
Right. So I have a question regarding that, because that's really interesting territory that I never considered until now. Mm-hmm. Are there ever projects where they'll have a main editor for story, and then they'll bring in like another editor or somebody that's just under them who specializes specifically for fighting? Okay.
Yeah, right. There are usually multiple editors, but usually there's like your sort of top tier guy, it seems, and that the person that has been on like Civil War and all these other films has been that person. Yeah. And they've like if you watch the movies, you go, man, I get it. It's really hard to do. But then there's just something that happens when it comes to fights where it's like, maybe it's hard to turn off that part of the brain because you're so down. If I thought about that, about how hard that person's job is, they are responsible for the pace of the entire film. So it's understandable, but it's just, it just sucks as a performer when you give your all and you go, I wish that they would have handed this action off to a sub-editor, like someone who is like, okay, give me the like fights and let them do that. Let them do their thing so that everything breathes, you know what I mean? Because we shoot it a certain way, whether you're shooting handheld or you're shooting on sticks or dolly. There's certain things that like I've seen while we've shot them that looked really good, and you're like, why isn't this shot in here? And it's just because of the time and pace. You want to hire somebody that's responsible for the overall pace. And maybe the director goes and they're like, I like this better because it fits with the overall pace. And that's another factor. So even though you're like, my fight is chopped to bits, the rest of the movie looks great because that's the actual pace. Yeah. It's understandable. Okay. It just sucks in terms of action.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's great. Winter Soldier is great. I think everybody still loves the like quick pace of that fight. They fixed a lot of things. I personally think I've got a previs up on my channel, and I've shown people the actual probably like 80% of the fight between Cap and Winter Soldier, and people love that version. But there's the debate that goes back and forth. They're like, I really like what they have on screen, and I really like what's in the previs. And I personally like what's on screen a little bit better because it does fit what's going on for that sort of vibe, you know. Winter Soldier was a more of an espionage spy thriller. So could you imagine having these long extended shots that really don't fit in with the narrative? I get it, but there's also things that they could have elongated. So even if you're not doing these long takes, you can still do handheld that is conducive to the action. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a balance to be had, but I think there's only a certain amount of people that understand that.
Yeah. So. In Bollywood, they'll spend like a month on a music video. In Hong Kong, they'll spend a month on a fight scene. How long do you get to do these epic fight scenes for the Marvel films?
Depends on who you're working with. With the Russos, I think they like their first outing. I remember their first fight that they covered was the elevator fight, and they had maybe a week or so to go ahead and do that because they were literally figuring it out. You know what I mean? So I don't think anybody was like, you got 2 days, because it's not. It's one of those things where you're like, no, man, this is gonna take time. And but then as they got better, I think they started budgeting their time a lot better. So we would get a lot more time to do certain action scenes, and also having Sam Hargrave there and James Young and a whole slew of people to kind of either do Splinter Unit or whatever it is to kind of springboard off of that. And so there was a trust that was developed with that crew. By the time we got to Infinity and like Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame, we had full on multiple units that were covering action. So we would get weeks at time. I remember when we went to Edinburgh, Scotland, we were there with Sam and a whole another crew before the Russos got there. And not many people know this, but there's an entirely different arrival fight scene for Cap as Nomad, Falcon, and Black Widow that is off the hook. And Sam shot it, and then the Russos showed up and changed everything. And it's understandable because story is king. Yeah. So there's like shots of like Falcon like triple kicking like Proxima or whatever, and then face, and they took all that out. It's actually in one of the old Comic-Con trailers. So if that ever lands, you know, I mean, if anyone can find one of those, there's like footage of that. There's a bunch of stuff. I did a bunch of flips in that. And like Cap had a lot more action. There's a bunch of stuff that just got thrown away just because it wasn't conducive to the story.
Right.
That hurts.
It happens.
That hurts. Oh God.
We have one last super chat here from Cuckoo Chiku. He says, Aaron, do you give tips to actors for convenience so that it may help you to double their persona, or what's a on-shoot conversation like with actors?
I think it's still a case by case basis with Mackie. I'm very much in the trenches with him about shaping his action. So he'll listen to me a lot of times about how to like hold his hands, how to like throw a punch or a kick or anything like that. And he's great. He's extremely receptive and very down to try a lot of things. Not many people know this either. The first arrival of Cap, we had Cap doing a dive roll, and Mackie at one point like pushed me out of the way. I got this, and I was like, really? He was like, I can do this, man. I was like, okay. And he did the best dive roll I had ever seen. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. I was like, this is amazing. But they cut it out of the movie. They cut it out of that fight because they used a dolly tracking shot of me doing like a sort of a proxy run. So, I'll tell everybody this. I didn't jump through a window. That was full on some of the best CG breaking of the glass to an actual practical double I've ever seen. I slow-moed it like 100 times. I was like, I didn't do any of that. I didn't jump through a window at all. I literally ran, rolled, and stood up, and I was like, damn, they made that look way more epic. I was like, cool. So yeah, wow. So if anybody broke that thing down. But Mackie also did a dive roll, and it was beautiful. I was like, that was really cool, man. I was like, that was great. And they didn't use it. Yeah.
So going back to, because you mentioned Endgame and stuff like that, and there's like a lot of CG characters that you guys are fighting.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like choreographing that stuff? Like, because these are larger than life characters. How do you choreograph like characters that aren't even there?
Like James Young and them were really the sort of fight coordinators and fight choreographers. I like show up and get to kind of throw my 2 cents in. But for me, you always think about the sort of proxies of like Hulk. You know, Hulk's got, okay, his head is here, but then he'll usually have like a poster board of Hulk or like, you know, whatever the character is. And so you're actually playing to that. When we were on Infinity War, a lot of us were running around as what are called Kingsguard for Wakanda. And so we were using spears, and we were personally told, like, don't stab where the actual person is, stab up high, because all of those sort of, you know, crawlers were big. And so playing around with choreography, you're doing stuff that's like this. And so we all figure it out, you know what I mean? So it's not hard. It's just being told and making sure that you're remembering to play to something that's, you know, slightly bigger than you. It's fun.
What was the, were you there? Did you choreograph the Wakanda fight or the Wakandans fighting in episode 3 or 4 when they like
No, I didn't choreograph any of that. That was Dave McCumber, Justin Eaton, and what's his face? Dan Carter. You're talking about in Falcon and
Yeah.
the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Eaton is a specialist. If you ever look up some of his old stuff, he used to use competition NASCA. I'm so bummed that he didn't get to play Gambit because he would kill it like as the double or even as the actor. But Eaton helped shape all of that action with all of his skills. So, and also the Doors came with a sort of background with what Micah Carnes and Matt Emming did on Black Panther. So all of that sort of the fundamentals of all of the like Doors stuff is attributed to what Jonathan Eusebio did with his team from the first Black Panther film.
Oh, cool. That's dope.
Yeah.
I got a weird question. You ever see Cinderella Man?
Is that with Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe, yeah, Russell Crowe.
Am I not tripping? I know the movie, but I don't think I saw it.
All right. There's this scene in the middle of the movie where he's fighting, and he just sees a flash of his kids and his wife, and like what he's fighting for. You ever have moments where you're doing a dangerous ass stunt, and you're like, and you just have that moment, or do you just block everything out? Like, what goes through your mind doing dangerous shit?
Yes, I know. Yeah, for me, and I think I've said this in an interview before. It was on the Causeway. The Causeway scene is the scene in Winter Soldier where Falcon is driving a Malibu and Cap and Widow are in the car with another another guy, and that guy gets pulled out of the car, and then Winter Soldier grabs the steering wheel of the car, canters, and then the car goes up, right? So what happens is we did a couple of shots. There was us dropping out, and then we're skating along this bridge on a car door. Good times, right? Yeah. So a couple things happened there. The one gag, the two gags where I was like, oh Lord, do I want to be here, was when we were being pushed. So here's the car, and what can I use as a sort of representation of myself? Okay, pretend like this Apple Watch is myself and Chris Brewster and Amy Johnston on a sort of lollipop rig. And this is a car. We're basically being pushed along, and there's a car that is wrapped up being ratcheted in front of us. And it's being ratcheted this way, right? So you're being pushed into it in 3, 2, 1, and they cue the car, and that car is ripping in front of you. I've got my back to it. So all I'm hearing is twisted metal as we're going along. And I was just like, Lord Jesus, please don't let something from this car rip up and slice any one of us. So we did that. That was an all-day thing. We did that for a while. They were like, go back to one. And I was like, you got to do it again? Got it. Okay, cool. So we did that. And then once we were done with that, it was, for some reason, it was Falcon, Sam Wilson coming off of the car door. I was like, all right, man. And for some reason, Mr. Mackey decided to take off his jacket.
Oh, no.
So I was the only one without a jacket.
Oh, no.
Coming off the car door. I was like, got it. I'm coming off the car door in a T-shirt. But it was fine. It was one of those things where you're like, you gotta come off the car door in a T-shirt. That wasn't the bane of my existence. Once I got off the door, I was in cahoots with a pursuit car that is following me. And at one point, I'm rolling, and I rolled next to this actual pursuit car. So if I'm rolling, here's the actual pursuit car. This pursuit car went like this. So yeah, I'm watching as I'm rolling. I'm thinking I'm about to get ran over. I was like, I just had a son. He's just been born. I'm gonna die here. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was like life flashed before your eyes a little bit. I was like, really? This here? I was like, come on, man. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Wow.
That's absolutely
good times.
Amazing.
That's a great story to end on. And y'all, just so you know, Aaron is on 2 hours of sleep. He's doing this interview for us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So thank you so much, Aaron, man. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
That's
really appreciate you.
Absolutely, brother.
Just gonna close this out with the audience, y'all. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Make sure to follow Aaron, Toney, and Syntell on the social media. Everything's down in the description below. Y'all be good.